What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ICNV Drivers Edition, and today we got another interesting conversation. And for those you don't know, my name is Sho, and if this is your first time tuning into the channel, welcome to the channel. This is ICNV Drivers Edition, and we have some interesting conversations about some interesting car topics. And just like any other, it's going to be a good one. So as you see, we got the C8 in the background, and with the C8 in the background means one or two things, and I think we're going to get both. And what that typically means is we're going to be talking about the Corvette today and some interesting conversation about it and possibly a little riding around. So let's dive into this conversation about the Corvette C8. And we might as well take a ride. So let's get into it. What up, everybody? So let's dive into this conversation. First of all, this is ICNV Drivers Edition. We are an interactive community, and we have conversations about topics that people from my community bring up, or I just showcase some fun stuff we actually out here doing in these streets. Today, we are diving into the conversation: is the Corvette C8 still relevant in 2024? And the reason why I thought this is an interesting topic to bring up is because realistically, I've owned my Corvette C8 for well over 3 years now. And you know how they say, when you have something for so long, you have a tendency to take it for granted. I think in some aspects, I actually take this car for granted. And I feel like I'm not the only one, especially if you've actually owned it for quite some time. So what sparked this conversation for me was I was in St. Louis attending a soccer tournament, and I came across this young guy, and I say young, in his 20s, shooting a video with a Corvette C8. You may have already seen his video. I don't know. This should have been released, I would say, well over 6 weeks ago, if not before. But I was watching him shooting a video with a Corvette C8, and when he kind of took a break to do some different angles and rollovers, I actually walked up and introduced myself, and we got into a nice conversation. And what he was sitting there saying was this was his first time behind the wheel of a Corvette C8, and since this was his first time behind the wheel of a Corvette C8, he was telling me how impressed he was, how it took off the 0 to 60 times because he actually did the launch on it and so forth. And mind you, I'm not in my Corvette C8, I'm in a regular car. But the way his face lit up made me actually start thinking, like, is the Corvette C8 relevant today? Because many people like to sit there and discredit or say because there's over 100,000 units produced that it's no longer, how can I say it, head-turning, eye-popping vehicle that somebody would be interested in today. And I think they're 100% wrong. I feel like it's finally becoming a truly relevant vehicle for 2024. And I know some of you are going to think that's crazy. Like, why would you say such a thing? And I'll tell you why. It's finally getting in the hands of so many people that sat there and said, it's not a true Corvette. I wouldn't get a Corvette C8 because it's not a front-engine Corvette. It doesn't have a manual transmission. All the so-called Corvette loyalists, and I'm not going to say all, but a large amount of the so-called Corvette loyalists who bashed the Corvette C8 when it first came out, who vowed never to be an owner of one, well, this car season, a lot of new owners of Corvette C8 started to pop up. So why do I think the Corvette C8 is still irrelevant? Well, here's my question for you. What other vehicle can you get that can do 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, brand new, for less than $100,000? When you look at it from that point of view, A lot of people would like to believe that for 2021, that was a steal, or should I say a great purchase. But why do you think that changed today? For $60,000, an entry-level supercar, and I'm going to say that one more time, $60,000 for an entry-level supercar, or in today's market, 70 grand. But if you think about that, well, let's take it back. Before that, to get something similar on the same plateau, you had an entry-level Audi R8 V8 version, but even that was starting out at 100 grand. So to look at the fact that you can get your hands on a Corvette C8 for 60 to 70 grand, depending on when you purchased your car, or even on the used market today, that pushes out 495 horsepower, 0 to 60 times in under 3 seconds. You have an updated infotainment system with all the technology that you could think of. You have a mid-engine platform, a front and a trunk, front nose lift, customizable colors, all of these tailor-made options to technically make the car your desire. And still, the average car will come in under $100,000 and it will outperform any entry-level supercar in the last 5 to 10 years. So is it relevant, or is it a bargain, or is it a good deal? I have to say yes. When I think about things like that, it's hard for me to find any other way or any other argument to sit there and say that this Corvette C8 isn't relevant today, because I don't know what you can buy that can rival it or give you the same performance and respectability in the supercar community than this Corvette C8. I'm starting to get out this car season, and it's kind of funny because this is the first year I actually start to believe there may be too many Corvette C8s on the market. And I know a lot of people said that last year, but I really didn't feel it last year. But now this year alone, I take drives, and I promise you, no matter where I'm going on a sunny, bright day, I pass at least 4 Corvette C8s when I start my trip, or before I end my trip. I never had that type of relevancy, or should I even say activity, in the past. So the Corvette C8 is really on the streets now. And what's even more funny about that is I've been to 3 Corvette events so far, and guess what? I'm seeing Corvette C8s in the hands of people I never thought I would see them in before. Let's take a quick break, and do me a favor, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, help me reach my goal of 25 before 25, which is 2,500 subscribers before the year 2025. We're chasing the movement. Be part of it. Join the channel, especially if you like the content you've seen so far. We have more stuff like this coming your way, and you too can help guide the focus of the content that comes your way. So subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. When you start to think about this, there are not many options out there. And for an entry-level supercar, or as some people would say, an upper echelon sports car, the Corvette C8 checks off all those boxes, and in my opinion, it validates the price. So because of that, I think it's still a relevant purchase today. Now, on the flip side of all that, what I want to sit there and say to you is, I've actually gotten out this car season, and I've had a lot of people come back and surprisingly own this car. And I'm not going to say any names because they know who they are, and I know they're watching the channel. But we've had conversations in the past where they did not believe that this was a different driving experience from the C7 or the C6. That the mid-engine platform was a whole new animal for the Corvette. That the sound system, the technology is hands down far better than the upgrade from the C6 to the C7, and that is just mind-blowing. That the way the car handles, the ease of driving, the whole schematic, or should I say programming, that makes the average driver feel like they can truly handle a supercar or a race car, because it corrects so many imperfections or bad decisions or mishaps, or should I just say lack of driving skills when it comes to how they handle the vehicle at high speeds on roads. Well, once they finally got behind the wheel of this vehicle, they started to realize this wasn't just talk. They started to realize that a lot of YouTubers weren't just saying things to say things. This car is actually a work of art and an amazing vehicle and a fun drive. And that's what I'm starting to hear over and over and over again from so many, I guess you could say, Corvette loyalists, or should I say Corvette historians, owners of Corvettes from multiple generations. They are now truly buying into the Corvette C8. And to me, that's what makes this car still remarkable today. So I get it. For many of us, we've owned this car too long that we forget the excitement we got when we first got behind the wheel. But that doesn't mean that that excitement is not there for many other new owners of this vehicle. So much time has went past that when I think back to how my first impression, I first laid eyes on it, how I felt, I no longer have that feeling anymore. But then again, I'm not going to lie to you. When I don't drive my car after a few weeks, I kind of get some form of that feeling back because I really enjoy the driving this car. And for a lot of people that haven't experienced that yet, for a lot of people that are still looking for something more above the 300 horsepower range, above the 425 horsepower range, this car should be on their radar, and it should be an option that they really consider. So when I say is it relevant, I guess it's how you define relevant. To me, relevant is defined in what can you get to replace it. And that's the struggle I have every day. I often think about, because I've owned it for so long, it doesn't feel new to me, but it may be new to you. But the problem with it for me is I feel like I want something else, and I don't even think it's really to replace the performance aspect of the car, although I would definitely get something that's a little bit faster. I really feel like it's just to give me that new excitement, that new feel, that new car, that new owner feel, because that's what I truly miss. But when it comes to driving a car, I love being behind the wheel of it and all the things it's capable of doing and what I can make it do. So to be relevant in 2024, performance-wise, that is absolutely a yes. Modification-wise and the ability to make this car or customize this car to my personality, that is a yes. For the fact that you can still turn heads, I would sit there and say this to you. I've run across several Corvette owners, new Corvette owners, at gas stations. And they sat there and said, man, it's amazing how in 2024, the owner of a car for 6 weeks expressed to me that he goes to a gas station, he feels like a celebrity. So everybody's always commenting on his car. At this point in time, I take it for granted. But then again, it just may be the area that he's in. But people all the time stop me and ask me, do I want to switch keys? At this point, it's just old and cliche at this point. I expect it. But when you've never had that from any other vehicle you own, the Corvette still draws in that attention. His last car was a BMW M3, from what he was expressing to me. And he was like, he never got that type of, how can I say, attention from driving the M3. So when people say, Corvettes don't turn heads anymore, the C8 doesn't turn heads because they're everywhere, it's not true. I even told him to go take a look at my video that I made on Are You Ready to Own a Corvette C8? And it's so funny because he was like, people walk up and knock on his window, people stop him, want to talk to him. He feels like a celebrity. That's what the Corvette C8 does because it's mid-engine. People expect it to be more expensive than what it really is, although you can go online, do the research, and see that it's really not a $200 supercar. People kind of treat it like it is that really don't know. So I ask you all, tell me in the comments below, do you think the Corvette C8 is still relevant today? You can tell me about the base Stingray because that's really what I'm talking about. Not the C8 Z06, not the E-Ray, and definitely not the soon-to-be C8 ZR1. It is, do we feel that this base Corvette C8 Stingray is still relevant? And I can tell you right now, the sales on this car has not went down. The amount of new owners to the C8 ownership has truly increased and is growing daily. So just alone off of those factors, I feel like it is. But when it comes down to the driving experience, I know it is. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. But ICNV Drivers Edition, go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, join the ICNV Drivers Edition community. We are an interactive community, which means if you reach out to me on any one of my social media platforms, I will do my best to respond, and if the topic or conversation you bring up is interesting enough, I will make a video on it. But if not, you know how it is. So remember to chase your dreams, build your visions. It is okay to be unique, and as always, stay safe, stay blessed, and I will see you in these streets. Peace. Let's get back to enjoying Zeus.